In this video, I'm going to talk about the new Warhammer preview. Well, actually, it's just the preview for the preview. But I'm previewing it, so it's going to be the preview of the preview for the Warhammer preview. Right? So if anyone's not caught up, we've had a teaser for the next big Warhammer preview that's coming up on the 18th of July. In this teaser, we've got the lads from the Warhammer team showing off a load of sort of hints, basically through the medium of hats. All right, so if we look here, and they'll start breaking out the various different hats, and I thought I'd just do a little breakdown today of what I think these different hats might mean, because at first glance some of them might seem obvious, but actually, they might be bait and switches, or a subversive sort of hat. So let's discuss it. Big hat debate begins. If you've got any opinions on what these hats might mean for the future releases of both Kill Team and the wider sort of Games Workshop offerings, please don't hesitate to pop something in the comments below. And whilst you're there, maybe like, subscribe, all that good stuff. So, the Warhammer Community team sent out a promo email with a confirmed list of game systems in attendance for the preview. Obviously here we can see 40k, Warhammer the Old World, Warhammer Underworlds, the Horus Heresy, Legions Imperialis, and of course Kill Team. The lack of Age of Sigmar has created some theories online that the whole hat metagame might be a hint for Chaos Dwarves, and that we'll get a bait and switch at the end of the preview, and the Chaos Dwarfs are going to be released for Age of Sigmar. Whilst we're on the subject of Chaos Dwarfs, I would implore everyone go and check out Raphael Boyon's entrance into the Golden Demon 2025 at Adepticon. He actually digitally sculpted and printed his own Chaos Dwarf mounted on like a Minotaur, and honestly, just incredible work, just absolutely incredible work. I always feel sorry for the sculptors at Games Workshop, because I don't think the pressure will have been on this sort of this drastically before, because of how well the this range was realized in a contest entry. But obviously Raphael must be like a Renaissance man. He's obviously he's got industry experience as a 3D sculptor, obviously a true artist. So I would go and check out, if you want to check out what Chaos Dwarf vibes are, I would go and check out his work on the Golden Demon archive, and just check out like the beautiful paint jobs he's done on like the warmth and the wings of the skin and stuff like that. If the dwarfs are released in line with the rumours, I would prefer them to be residing in the old world. I kind of think, I don't know, for some reason for me, I feel like Chaos Dwarfs, Cathay, Kislev, Lustria, like all these places are so firmly rooted in the canon of the old world, and it would almost do them a disservice to move them over to Age of Sigmar. But we'll see what happens. I certainly think it'd be very telling if we have this preview and Old World gets a slot and Age of Sigmar doesn't, but I can't really see that happening. We'll see. So as we move forward through the slides, they are kind of in order of the surest bet, if you understand what I mean. So obviously the first slide will be the most confirmed, and as we move through, my theories will probably get a little bit more wild and a little bit more wild. So the first hat is this symbol here that we can see, which is it's kind of an inquisitorial symbol. I believe it's a symbol for the Chamber Militant of the Ordo Xenos, which is of course the Deathwatch. I actually kept this little this little sort of pamphlet from when the Genestealer cult were released in the Deathwatch Overkill box set, which came with Kill Team Cassius. And I mean, it's the same picture, obviously, so we know it's going to be the Deathwatch. I'll kind of just I'll probably discuss the implications for the Dead Silence box set that's been rumoured in a standalone video. As you know, obviously there's a couple of more things to touch on which are Kill Team specific, but for now I'll just say that we know, with a reasonable degree of certainty, that it's not a 40k release, because we've had articles and statements on the release of the Agents of the Imperium stating that they will no longer be supported as a standalone faction. And whilst this might kind of ruffle the feathers of the Deathwatch purists out there, and the people who really just want to run a pure sort of Deathwatch force, I think overall this is good. It's good both for their release in the game of 40k and the release in the game of Kill Team. The kit doesn't have to serve as its own core unit, and it can be more specialised. So what I mean by that is, if the Deathwatch kit doesn't just have to serve as a single unit datasheet, with a kind of very specific role within an army, it's going to create a certain degree of freedom for the sculptors and the designers to play with, if you understand what I mean. Obviously the Kill Team Cassius release that came out with Deathwatch Overkill, for instance, that had a Terminator in it. It had a bike. It had a white scar on a bike. It had like a Raven Guard with a jump pack. It had a librarian. So it had a real cool and interesting spread of like A-Team style, A-Team style Space Marines, and I think a return to the Deathwatch being that, being the best of the best, being like the sort of space SAS, will be, I think, a better power fantasy, or a better, role fantasy, than them just being, another unit with special issue ammunition or something like that. It leaves room as well in the Kill Team design space for things like, obviously, list building. So you can bring in, just like you can at the moment in the Angels of Death team, you can bring in a heavy intercessor, or you can bring in a sniper. There'll be list building elements like that, and also esoteric kind of loadout options. So right now you get the Xenophase blade, but you could also get like pulse weapons with purity seals. There's a bit of a precedent's been set there, because we've had an Inquisitor of the Ordo Xenos with a shuriken rifle, with just like a purity seal tacked on to the side. So before I move on from this, I do think it'd be worth discussing, like, it's weird how the Agents of the Imperium have become the negative space for Kill Team, in a sense, in relation to 40k, because usually kind of Kill Team is often like a vehicle for 40k to get random kits that it needs. For example, the Servitors and the Raveners that have just been released are obviously meant to be picked up by 40k players and used in the wider game. Whereas like Agents of the Imperium is almost the opposite. It's a habitat for like all the Imperial weirdos to live, so that Kill Team can have a bit of breathing room in its own sort of its own specialisms and design space. So things like Sanctifiers, Adeptus Arbites, and obviously the Deathwatch coming out as well. With having that ecosystem there, it will just present more freedom, essentially, is what I'm saying for the kill team design space. So next we've got the Leagues of Vottan, I think. So we've got like kind of the space helmet, and the only thing really coming to my mind, and I think everybody else is up to now, is the Leagues of Vottan. So we got like that kind of NASA punk, retro futuristic vibe going on, haven't you, with the Leagues of Vottan? I actually really dig it. I think if I was to get into 40k again, despite the fact I've got a Gene Steel Cult army and a Tyranid army, I don't like the mental load of playing with so many minis. So I think I'd probably go start a Vottan army, because they're just cool, and they're just not quite Space Marines, are they? But they kind of have all the benefits of being Space Marines, small faction, durable, stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. The Jester hat could be a lot of different things for a lot of different games. For Kill Team, obviously we've had the ongoing rumours for the Corsair faction release, and I do think with the Harlequins coming out of rotation, with the upcoming declassification pass of Kill Team, and the models themselves looking a little bit dated at this point, people can't really tell the difference between the players. You have to kind of spell it out. I'm always like, is that the Harlequin's kiss? Is that this gun? Is that gun? So I think the players' kits themselves the player kit could maybe do with a little update. So that isn't out of the realms of possibility, I suppose. And also, we've got rumours of a Necron Tomb World as the next kill zone, and it would make too much sense for Games Workshop to release a Necron faction in a Necron Tomb World. The only thing that makes not enough sense for a Kill Team box release is like Harlequins or Exodites or something mad like that in a Necron Tomb World fighting the Deathwatch for some reason. It's always a weird, look at all the Gallo-Dark boxes, totally random. But anyway, in terms of 40k, as I said, I could see the Harlequins being rolled into the neutral elf faction release. So with the Corsairs being rumoured to be getting a sort of small sub-faction range release, I can see that sub-faction, that sort of umbrella, covering the Exodites that are also rumoured, as well as the Harlequins. And in totality, I suppose, the Corsairs, the Exodites, and the Harlequins would become, the third sort of umbrella faction between, the good guy elves, who are the Craft Welders, the bad guy elves, who are the Dark Eldar, and then obviously like the neutral elves, who are the Corsairs, Exodites, and Harlequins. However, random tangent, but we could go another route here. The Deceiver could return. Right now, we know we've got a rumoured Necron kill zone, and we also know that the Pariah Nexus is supposed to be the focus of that that kill zone narratively. And I think it would make sense for the Pariah Nexus narrative to have sort of a capstone, centerpiece mini. And there's already rumours floating around about the Nightbringer. So we could see a dual kit, possibly. They've both got that kind of Greco-Roman god aesthetic going on, with robes hanging off them. It wouldn't be a massive stretch of the imagination to think you've got a Jester head or a Death Spectre head, and create a dual kit for obviously the Deceiver and the Nightbringer Catan shards. Again, just a possibility that we could put out there. Also, we could look at this through the lens of the old world. The Bretonnian range has kind of been rolled out with the Tomb Kings as a sort of flagship faction, kind of. And it would be interesting to see if the peasant box got a re-release in some way or an update in some way, because I could certainly see a jester, you know, a court jester in the middle of a load of peasants with slings and crossbows and things like that. You know, that's another kind of visual that is kind of popping into my mind, and another possibility, I suppose. The next hat for us to look at here is this Egyptian style headdress, and this could be taken in a couple of ways, I suppose. So initially, I think everyone's first knee-jerk reaction, certainly mine, was Tomb Kings. Again, it's the other flagship faction for the old world, kind of superseded by Cathay now, maybe, but definitely the other flagship faction initially for when the old world dropped. And it's possible we could see an expansion or update to the Tomb King range in some way. You know, those skeletons are, you know, they do look dated. I'm not gonna lie, and I think with the amount of cool skeletons that you've got running around in the you know, the death range for Age of Sigmar, you know, it'd be a very easy CAD job to be putting headdresses on them and sending them out to be injection molded, you know. In terms of looking at this release through the lens of Kill Team, I think the Necrons would be an ideal pairing against the Deathwatch in the Ruben New box. Obviously, again, the focus is going to be on the Pariah Nexus. It makes sense that, you know, you would have a Necron Kill Team fighting the Deathwatch. Probably too much sense. It's too good to be true. It's very rare that you know, the boxes never make that much sense. It's usually just like, oh, it's a random faction versus random faction in a random kill zone. So we'll see. What I would like to see for a Necron Kill Team, though, if they were to return, would be the Pariahs, and I do think it would make sense again because you know, narratively we've got the Pariah Nexus. You know, this could be the beginning of the Pariah factory. They were kind of like human souls ported into Necron bodies back in the day. It's a long time since I read that lore, but they're kind of a greatly lamented unit from the Necron range, and it would make sense for the again a capstone for the Pariah Nexus to be the Pariahs. So maybe we get like a mini Necron release, you know, Pariahs and the Deceiver. That'd be really cool for the Necrons, and it would kind of cap off the line for them for now. So we also got a couple of pirate hats presented to us as well. Again, the Tricorn hat kind of looks a little bit roguish. We could be hinting at the Eldar Corsair release here. It could finally be the time that they show up. The Eldar range has seen a sort of really huge gradual update over time. If we look at it through the lens of the old world, vampirates, baby. Vampire Coast could be getting some love. So this is like some pretty old lore. I actually remember reading. There was a series of articles told from the perspective of a guy called Marco Colombo in White Dwarf. He's obviously, you know, supposed to be Columbus in the old world, and you got a whole series of different articles. Some of them he goes to like the Mountains of Morn and sees you know, the brutality of the ogre kingdoms, and he goes to like the jungles of Lustria, and everyone's getting like dysentery and shitting themselves to death. And then at some point he runs into the vampire coasts as well, the pirates, vampire pirates, man. Kind of think like the Greyjoys from Game of Thrones mixed with the Lich King from World of Warcraft, with like a heavy dose of Pirates of the Caribbean. It'd just be a very cool release, and I think if we got like a triumvirate of releases for the old world with Cathay, Kislev, and the Vampire Coasts, we kind of have this really cool not grounded, but like we have this very old world centric set of releases. You know, Kislev is a place in the old world, Cathay is a place in the old world, and the Vampire Coasts again is a place in the old world. So we have a real focus on that, you know, on that particular sort of narrative sphere of Warhammer. So I just think it could work really well, and it would fucking print money. Again, we could get the same guys. We could get the Vampire Coast minis in Underworld, so that it's been done before in a way. The niche within a niche warbands of Underworlds could be a good fit for the Vampirates. I think we saw like vampire ninjas in Warcry with like bamboo and like armor and stuff like that, but I just feel like ripping them out of the old world, just like the Chaos Dwarves, feels like a bit of a disservice, you know. So we will see. At this point, I'm kind of pulling at straws for them. I mean, what can you say about a wizard hat in a fantasy game? Like, everyone's got a wizard, but I have got some ideas. So we had the Amber Mage in the old world, really highlighted the age of the Empire wizard kits. So we got like this really cool set of old world mages with like little familiars and stuff like that. And I think it would be really nice to see some proper representation of the College of Magic in the Age of Sigmar space, maybe. I don't think they're quite around in the old world yet, but like, I suppose the kits could be pulling double duty. But it could be some really interesting standalone sculpts for Warhammer Underworld. You know, if we got like a College of Magic team, and each wizard has his own like little repertoire of spells and skills, it could be a really good team basically for Underworld, in my opinion. And what else are we going to say about wizard hat, man? So the last hats, they're just hats, mate. Like, I mean, they're big hats. Really pulling the strings here, but if the Deathwatch, you're going to get a standalone kit that plays a role in the Agents of the Imperium, it's not out of the realms of possibility that we could get an Ordo Xenos Inquisitor of some kind. Obviously, it would also add credibility to the Deathwatch being released as an Agent of the Imperium unit as well, because right now it's difficult to get a standalone Ordo Xenos Inquisitor. So if you get the Ordo Xenos Inquisitor to lead your army with his Chamber Militant, you know, maybe a little bit of credibility that way. And also we could possibly get something for the old world, maybe a Witch Hunter warband for the re-release of Mordheim, maybe. I hope this little summary of what the hats might mean for the future of the games we play has been useful to you. And if you've got any opinions about what these releases might be yourself, please drop something in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Cheers, thanks for your time.